I don't hear you. Put on your phone. Put something on your. Pull your phone. Put something on your phone. Use it ready. Plug it into your phone.
Oh, I don't have that kind of jack. None of them is Apple.
Don't worry about it. Listen, I'll just put the mic to this.
Go ahead. Just plug it in. Oh, but you know what? You have to switch the audio. You just. You switch the audio.
Hold on, she didn't switch the audio.
Family, I greet you in the words of peace. I say Hetepu. I say to you, Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, Akwaba. I greet you in all of the words that our people have used through the tens of thousands of years that we have actually been at the forefront of human civilization. And as I say all those terms, I know that the amazing ancestor that we are here to celebrate would have greeted us back in each of those terms. We know, as we've come here to gather to celebrate the life of Baba Ali Salahuddin, that his life was a testament to uniting people, to greeting our people, and to recognizing all the things, the amazing things that we have done. He took thousands of people to recognize the greatness, the legacy of African people. So as I greet you in those words, I say Hetepu, please say it back to me. As I say peace, say it back to me. As I say assalamu alaikum, please, you say, I knew you. In this space, you had better have greeted me properly. And I say Akwaba, as he would have said, as Ghana was an important space to him and he was doing much more there, I know that he would have been pleased to be greeted in that way as well. My name is Jabari Osaze, and I am one of those individuals who had the honor of walking with our dear ancestor Ali Salahuddin very, very frequently over the last 20 plus years. And as I stand here, I recognize that he was not just my friend, not just my big brother, but in many ways, he was a father to me, just as he was a father to some of you literally, and a father to so many of us figuratively as well. I want to say a word today about why we have gathered for a 40-day celebration. You know, as we announced this, so many people said to us, why 40 days now? Why not 7 days? Why not 14 days? And clearly we have to say to you that 40 days has been an important period of time in so many of the traditions that Africans have found themselves in. Of course, you know that in the Christian tradition, 40 is a number of particular importance. We know that Yeshua, Jesus, was tempted for 40 days. We know that definitely there are so many people in the Christian tradition who fast for 40 days. We know that 40 was the year, as we go to the Muslim tradition, that Muhammad received the first message. And if we look at all of those numbers, we have to also remember that Africans were celebrating 40 days as a period of resurrection, as a period of transformation, thousands of years before those traditions as well. In fact, I should say to you that the first recorded celebration, the first recorded period of 40 days in which we resurrected and recognized the eternal soul of a great ancestor took place in ancient Kemet. A place that we know that Baba Ali had taken more people, along with his wonderful wife, Mama Ali Salahuddin, had taken more people than any other African. And so as we think about the 40-day celebration, we must also think of the name Asar. Say Asar with me. Asar. The Greeks came to that land and called him Osiris, for those of you who are unfamiliar with that name. But literally over 5,000 years ago, we know that Africans along that wonderful river that today is called the Nile celebrated a 40-day celebration recognizing the life and resurrection of Asar. In fact, at the end of that celebration would have been what was called the Wag Festival, where people would just celebrate that great king, that great ruler, that person that brought civilization to the world has made his transition. And that celebration, that first 40 days of celebration, was celebrated by people in Kemet every year. And so it is appropriate for us to stand here and to recognize that Baba Ali Salahuddin should be even considered our modern Asar. An individual that brought knowledge, an individual that brought solace, an individual that brought so many of our people to an understanding of our greatness. And so clearly, I should say that Baba Ali, my father and the father for many of you, should be seen also as Asar, as we gather to celebrate his transition at this 40-day celebration. And so I want you to think about him. I want you to evoke him. I want you to set your intentions and recognize that he would be in no other place than here with so many of the people who are important in his life to celebrate his transition. To celebrate the fact that while he did such important work for so many, so thousands and thousands of our people, we should also recognize that while he is no longer encumbered with physical form, he can actually do much more for our people. And you know, as I know, that he is now sitting with the greats that have gone on and been ancestors. You know that he's sitting at a table somewhere with Dr. Edward Robinson coming up with a new scheme to bring Black people to liberation. That they had plenty of conversations over the last few days. And that his reach and his access to all of those greats who had gone before and are now ancestors is magnified. I can only imagine what plans he's come up with. I can only imagine how he is planning to come into your lives, into your homes, to continue to move our people forward. And so today is not a day for sorrow. Today is not a day to hang your head low. Today is a day to celebrate, because we know that this great African did so much in physical form and will do more as a vaunted ancestor. With that, we begin with libation. And for those of you, and it's almost awkward to describe what a libation is in this room, because I know that everything that Baba Ali did began with libation. So there's probably no one in this room who is not familiar with libation. You can't say that in a lot of other rooms of our people. In a room like this, at a time like this, I know that you are familiar with the way that our ancestors recognized the divine ancestral spirit. For tens of thousands of years, Africans were pouring libations before there are other names for other countries. Africans poured libation before we know of anything that anyone else was doing. Africans were recognizing the ancestral energy. And so today, we honor our ancestors. We actually evaluate, elevate, and celebrate our ancestors. And I must say that this particular libation was put forward by another young person. I'm calling him young, although we're all kind of old now, Mom. Another young person, Dr. Chika Kua, who wanted to be here and could not be here. He had planned to do the libation. I know he's probably watching us online right now. Welcome to all of you, the hundreds of people around this country and around this world who are watching, to pour libation to the ancestors and to the vaunted ancestor, Ali Salahuddin. We remember that Dr. Jacob Crothers said that our stride is wide because we are walking in the footsteps of giants, as he spoke about those ancestors who came before. Ancestors like Imhotep. Say Imhotep with me. We must say their names because according to our African ancestors, to say their names is to continue to allow them to live. Ancestors like Ptahhotep. Ancestors like Hatshepsut, that great queen that ruled as king. Ancestors like Queen T. And then ancestors that did powerful things on the west coast of the continent. Ancestors like Sundiata. Say Sundiata with me. Abu Bakari. Mansa Musa. Suni Ali Bear. Ahmed Papa. And ancestors more recently who did amazing things for our people on these shores after we made our journeys. Ancestors like Ida B. Wells, Barnett. Come on now, y'all could do better than that. Let's hear the names. Ida B. Wells. Ancestors like Harriet Tubman. Ancestors like Sojourner Truth. Other ancestors who toiled on these shores, who made sure that Africans who had actually suffered through hundreds of years of degradation could remember who they were and could once again do the great work that even the ancestor we speak of specifically today, Ali Salahuddin, asked us to do. Ancestors like Booker T. Washington, Mary McLeod Bethune, and Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Ancestors like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And of course, we must mention some of those ancestors that were particularly important to Ali Salahuddin. Ancestors who Baba Ali has now been reunited with. Individuals who absolutely assisted him into becoming the dynamo, this incredible African that he became. Ancestors like Horace Booster Dixon and Uncle Charlie Dixon. It's been said that part of Baba Ali's swagger came from Uncle Charlie. You'll see on the screen, he says that when he would do something and operate businesses in the way he did, he would say he gave them the Uncle Charlie. Well, Uncle Charlie is sitting with Baba Ali today. And so we recognize and call the name of Uncle Charlie.
Uncle Charlie.
We call the name of Jeremiah Shabazz, the minister of the mosque that was so much of a mentor, a jegna for Ali as he came through the Nation of Islam. and learned so many of the things that he needed to learn to become the person who would then go on to co-found the African Genesis Institute. We also call the name of others who we know did important work that influenced Ali, important work with Ali. We call the name of recent ancestors, our dear Queen Akosua Sabri, who was so important here with the Philly Locks Conference, and of course, the ancestor Ken Bridges, who came forward with that incredible Mata network that was so important to Baba Ali. You could not call an ancestor's name at this time and not recognize that great elder who became ancestor, who influenced Ali as he and Mama Helen moved forward with the African Genesis Institute and the Dessert Club. We're calling the name of no other than Dr. Edward Robinson, who would be sitting here front and center at anything that this amazing couple did. And do you think that he's no longer sitting here because he is no longer encumbered by physical form? While he may not be sitting, he is likely flying above us, giving us all of the information that we need to understand who we are. And of course, we also call the name of Mr. Ginger, as he was called, the founder and the proprietor of Ginger Tours, who was so important to Ali as he took thousands of Africans to Kenya. We knew they would sit together as they are in this picture, smiling as they move forward. We also call the name of Cody Anderson, the owner of WDAS and Word Radio. You know how important that institution is here in Philly. And I know that it was an important and vital part of the walk of the African Genesis Institute. We call the name of Leroy Simmons, the absolutely amazing activist and minister that put this wonderful couple, Mama Helen and Baba Ali, together. And we call the name of Bill Jones. And we know that Bill Jones always had a smile, always had energy as he assisted with the African Genesis Institute. And of course, you know that they were buddies at Howard. The big H, as he knew and would call it. That's right, Mama Helen gives me a thumbs up, see the big H. And then we also call the names of some popular ancestors who have recently made their transition. The amazing Cecily Tyson, say her name. And I should also say someone who I was actually able to call a personal friend, Brother Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther, who made his transition to another age. And of course, as we pour libation, we may be speaking about the ancestors, but we know that that ancestral place where their souls dwell are also the place where the souls of those who have yet to be born reside. And we think of the children yet to be born. At this point, I want you to just call forward the names of other ancestors that you are asking to be in this space, other ancestors that will assist us in our journey, other ancestors who would not be anywhere else but here with you. Please call their name. Calvin Cooper Shepherd.
Brother Ronoko Rashidi.
Henry T. McClary.
Daniels, Richard Daniels.
Lynn Allen Shepherd.
Robert Robb. Francis Daniels, Francis
McCrary.
John Howell.
With that, we say Ashe, 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 oh. Wow, thank you so much. Let us begin.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Assalamu alaikum, my family.
Walaikum salam.
You know, just real quick, I want to first thank the family, Sister Helen, Sonny and every Ali's family, some all y'all for inviting me. We're the Universal African Dance and Drum Ensemble. My name is Brother Robert Dickerson. I have so many Muslim and African names. Well, I've been knowing Ali since 1971. I grew up in Temple number 12 in headquarters. And I've always remembered when Captain Irvin, we call him Brother Daoud, he sent me and my two brothers to help Ali start the mosque on 41st and Avenue. We went there and soldiered out for him. Then about 5 years ago, Ali grabbed me, but before that, him and his wife, the Helen Harrow group, performed for them since the 90s at all the African Genesis and the Dessert Club events. And we're so grateful for that. We're so appreciative of that. And meeting all the great celebrities Ali had us meet. And we're at the beautiful libation we just heard. Being around all these great people. Well, I just want to thank him. We looked up to Ali, Brother Farouk, and I looked up to Brother Farouk. And we called him Brother Fred back in the day, Ali and all of us, the Nation of Islam. And then Ali grabbed me again and had me with Kenny Gamble, Lookman, Brother Lookman. Kenny Gamble, he's talking about PCOL Cultural Committee. And they came to Brother Ali. I'm going to really miss my good brother. But we had to be here. We have a 77 troop ensemble. I got them on 3 events today. But I had to be here for my brother, my wife and I. They lived them for so many years. And so I let my wife bring on, we're doing this presentation. We want to present something small to you. And again, we want to thank you. I see Bob Watts. Thank y'all so much, for allowing us to be in this beautiful family. And I thank all. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Peace and love to each and every one of you, Sister Helen. You already know. And we know, just as our brother said, with the ancestors, he's right here. His spirit is right here in this room with all of us. So to your family and to each and every one of the friends, we just give you our love, lots and lots of love, and know that our ancestor, Papa Ali, is here with us, okay? So we give thanks. My husband started for my part, but that's okay. I'm not going to repeat what he said, but you guys heard him. We just brought like a little small presentation for you. We're not going to take up too much time. We're just going to come out and have a few of our little young people come and do a little performance, okay? So we thank you again, Sister Helen, and the entire family for just, being in your life, being here to be able to represent the African culture where everything comes from. That drum is the beginning of everything, and it's indeed a privilege, an honor, and a pleasure for us to represent that all over the world. And we're very appreciative, my husband and myself, for having the ability to do what we do with our young people, because it's imperative that they know their history and their culture, know where they come from. There's nothing but love. You get love, you got love, you are love. So that's what we push all the time through our young people. So we thank you, each and every one of you again, and enjoy the rest of this awesome program. We're just going to hit it, quit it, and go. Because we have, like my husband said, we got 3 performances today, and we're like separated, and then we got to all come together at the last one. So give thanks always.
I said,
All right, how about another round of applause for the Universal African Dance and Drum Ensemble? Now, for those of you who have participated in the Bon Voyage parties, I know you have seen the entire ensemble perform. So the next time you hear them performing, make sure you're in attendance. Now, they have other performances today, so the entire group couldn't be here. I want to say good afternoon. My name is Gary Shepard. For those of you I have not had the pleasure of meeting over the years, good afternoon to you. I know it's more people in here than that. All right, thank you so much. You know, we're going to start off with a couple of housekeeping items here. Please stay masked up. We're still in the middle of a pandemic right now. So please, we ask you to please stay masked up. We don't want you to congregate outside of your own pods. Please wash your hands and stay seated. And I just would like for you to respect Helen. I call her my twin. Everybody else calls her mama, but she's like a sister to me, a big sister. Just like Brother Ali was a big brother to me. I heard Jabari talk about him as a father. He was my big brother, although we're not that far apart in age, believe it or not. So I wanted to make sure to remind you of all of those things. Jabari and Dr. Aniko Saze, thank you so much for being here. Give them a nice round of applause for the wonderful presentation. Brother Zumbi Soweto and the African drummers, give them a nice round of applause. Now, I've been working with Ali for a long, long time, and Helen can vouch for this as well, because we've been working together an awful long time, as I think back on it. The Dessert Club had chapters all over the nation. You heard Brother Jabari talk about taking thousands of children and people to Africa. I had the opportunity back in 2002 to visit Egypt with them. It was a really spiritual and eye-opening and awakening experience for me. And just 2 years ago, we visited Ghana, and that one was a welcome back home from the Ghanaian people. That was really, really touching. You'll hear from him a little bit later on. Dr. Quad David Whitaker was very instrumental in pulling all of that together, and we had a big celebration at his house there right on the coast. And as I stood there on the beach, on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, in the Gulf of Guinea, I could just look across and just imagine me standing on the coast of the United States, which my wife and I did exactly 1 month later when we were down in Virginia, where the first enslaved Africans arrived. Exactly 1 month later. That was the 400th commemoration of the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade. There's so many things I can say, I said, across the nation. We've done the advertising for the Dessert Club, the African Genesis Institute in Atlanta, in Charlotte, in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., New York City, Syracuse, New York, here in Philadelphia, in Detroit, Chicago, Houston, Texas, and Los Angeles. Is there any other city I left out, Helen?
Newark.
Well, that's the Newark, greater New York area. So Newark, we don't want to leave you out. So we recognize Newark, New Jersey as well. So over the years, people have been introduced to the Dessert Club and the African Genesis Institute. It's just a wonderful program. And I remember in the trip to Egypt, I got a chance to see our young people really, really blossom. And I tell this story when we were traveling on the Nile, headed down in Aswan, how the children jumped into the water to welcome the African Genesis Institute and the Dessert Club, because they knew, first of all, they wanted to welcome us. as brothers and sisters and family. They knew we were bearing gifts for them. And our people were so touched that when some of those young people received a number 2 pencil with an eraser on it, they were so grateful and so happy that some of our children just burst out into tears. They broke down. They realized what a blessing that we can be to our brothers and sisters and ancestors in Africa. So many things that I can say, but I'll just continue on because we want to keep the program moving this afternoon. And let's talk about Brother Baba Ali Salahuddin. He's the oldest son of the late Horace Dixon and Bertha McLemore Dixon. He was born on February 4th, 1947 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right here, where he received his education. He was preceded in death by his younger brother, Roddy Dixon. Now, when Ali's father, Horace, lovingly called Booster, passed away, the old hymn, Rush Side of the Mountain, was sung at his funeral. And Ali loved that song. Anytime Helen would come home from a funeral, Ali would ask, did they sing my song? Climbing on the rough side of the mountain.
All right, so if you can hear me and you know the song, sing it with me. I'm coming up, yeah, on the rough side of the mountain. I know God, yeah, his powerful hand. I'm coming up on the side. I know some of y'all know this and I sing. Of the mountain, yeah. I'm coming up, yeah. Yeah, come on, here, Mom. I'm coming up. On the side of the mountain. Oh, God. Yes, I'm coming to you, Jimmy. Come on, Jimmy. His powerful hand. I'm coming up. Y'all gonna see what I'm doing. On the side of the mountain, I know why he came. Always favorite song, y'all.
All right. Let's give it up for Sonny Kane. Sonny, I might say you did a fantastic job.
Did I really?
Yes, very, very nice. I won't tell the secret, but
Yeah, don't tell the secret.
you did a great
You're
job.
not supposed to, that's why it's a secret.
That's right.
You're not
One
supposed to tell
of my friends told me, I don't tell anybody secrets, and I keep mine to myself.
it. That's a good thing, brother.
That's a good thing. Very good thing. So we have several resolutions now. I brought a couple of them in. I picked them up last night, yesterday and last night. And the first one to acknowledge is from Congressman Dwight Evans. Now, I'm not going to read the entire citation here because, first of all, I can't see it. But anyway, it starts off with all the whereases, whereas Ali Salahuddin, also known as Philip Dixon, was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, February 4, 1947, to the late Horace and Bertha McLemore Dixon. And it continues with the whereas, all the way down, be it further resolved that the 3rd Congressional District of Pennsylvania and Congressman Dwight Evans mourn with the family, friends, and extend deepest condolences. Presented on this 11th day of September 2021 and is signed Dwight Evans, Member of Congress. And I want to present this to him. So now, I'd like to call up And I want to say this before he begins. Dr. Everard Coleman, who we together in New Orleans back 3 years ago received our 50-year pins for Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Dr. Coleman, I have a microphone for you right there. Can someone hand it to me? 50 years together, and by the way, I am wearing Ali's tie right now. And we have our 50-year pins. All right. So Dr. Coleman, it's on you right now.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I wanted to keep masks. It's very difficult for me to put into 2 minutes that Helen gave me for someone I've known for 53 years. I met, well, first, before I start, I'd like you to look at the back of the room there. Those are the men of Omega Psi Phi. That was Ali's first family outside of his blood family. We are brothers, we are men of Omega Psi Phi. And we pledged, Ali and I pledged at Howard University. Now, let me give you a little, how can I put it, a sense of what was going on. We came on campus in 1965. Civil rights movement was going on. African Americans were trying to get our equality. DC was the focal point of what was going on. And Howard University was in the focal point of what was going on. Every week we had a civil rights person coming to talk to us. We even had Lyndon Johnson there for Charter Day. We were really, you know, that was, we were really, no, I'm trying to think of the words. I'm 74 years old, so we were very forceful in what we did. And we were trying to make sure that we were proud of our heritage. Yes, yeah, we protested, we rioted, we did this, that, and the other. But it shut the school down, yes. And by the way, before I go any further, I would like for you to know that Mama Helen was our homecoming queen in 1968. We recognize Judy. But anyway, 1968 was the first time I met, formally, Phil Dixon, this skinny kid from Philadelphia. Yes, he was skinny. He was, we had juniors on our line that were, I'd say 1/3 of our line, and we were a little bit more arrogant than the sophomores. And we were an impetuous line that we dropped line twice because we didn't like what the big brothers were doing. Okay, now we did pay for it. No, don't get me wrong. We paid for it, but we did pay for it. And then we were suspended because the entire school was shut down because we took over the administration building because we weren't Afrocentric enough. We went over when Martin Luther King was assassinated. We were sequestered in our fraternity house, and I'm going to tell you now, when you're there with just nothing but big brothers, it was not a pleasant sight. No. But Ali had one job. He turned 21 in February, so we went online, and he was supposed to get the wine for us to go to step practice. And he did a phenomenal job. And that's one thing I can say about Ali. He was committed to whatever job he had. He was committed. If Ali said, I'm going to do it, you didn't have to call him every day. It was done. Now, and he exemplified and he excelled in our cardinal principles. They're called manhood,
Mm.
scholarship,
Mm.
perseverance,
Mm.
and uplift.
Mm.
He demonstrated manhood because he had the strength, but not just outwardly, but inside. I talked to him about two weeks before he passed. And not only was he positive about his condition, but he also asked me how I was doing. Now, why are you asking about me when you were, in that state? That just lets you know that he was really showing his strength and trying to convey it to other people. Scholarship. He was learning,
Mm-hmm.
but he also acquired knowledge and sent it or
Disseminated it.
to other people.
Mm-hmm.
When you heard about him going to Africa, taking 4,000
Yes.
young people,
Yes.
not only was he learning, but he was also dispensing knowledge, as well as bringing in experts to talk to these people, and then having them go out and disseminate that information. Perseverance. He did not have an easy life.
Mm-hmm.
He did not have an easy life. There were challenges, there were disappointments, there were all types of things in his way, but he was committed, but he was confident that he would absolutely become a success in whatever he did. And uplift. We don't have to talk about uplift other than what you've already said. When you take that many people to another continent to learn about yourself and instill that identity in you, and then make you the person that can go out and teach others, that is uplift. He uplifted people socially, economically, and emotionally. So he was an example of our four cardinal principles, to the point that it's just, we want to feel that we instill that in Ali before you all even met him. But let's be clear. I'm not saying Omega Psi Phi made him what he was.
Mm.
He would have been successful regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But I just hope that we were a measure of confidence for him. And with that, we're going to do an Omega service. This is one aspect of our tradition that he wanted and he loved. So without further ado, I'd like my brothers to come forward and we will have our Omega service.
Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, forever thou hadst formed the earth and the world. From everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Thou turnest man to destruction, and saith, return, ye children of men. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night. Thou carriest them away as with a flood. They are as asleep. In the morning, they are like grass which groweth up. In the morning it groweth up and flourisheth. In the evening it is cut down and withereth. For we are consumed by thine anger, and by thy wrath are we troubled. Thou hast set our iniquities before thee, our secret sins in the light of thy countenance. For all our days are passed away in thy wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told. The days of our years are 80 years and 10, and if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet is their strength labor and sorrow, for we're soon cut off, and we fly away. Who knoweth the power of thine anger? Even according to thy fear, so is thy wrath. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. Precious Lord, Take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me on. When we wear the gloves, a brother has gone from our midst and sailed the golden shore. When we wear the gloves, a friend has passed the final test and walks in purple boots. The circle has an empty place, a voice will raise no more. The songs of fellowship and love uplift forevermore when we wear the gloves. When we wear the gloves, a light goes from this earthly light. Our eyes are closed again, yet all the heavens open wide, and let a new star in. When we wear the gloves, a brother leaves the chapter rolls and moves to other work. So when we say our last goodbye, he walks on the streets of pearls. When we wear the gloves.
We are assembled here to pay our last respects to a member of our fraternity. As all life must perish, and even as we must come to the crossing of the great divide, so has our brother reached that stage. Let us then resign ourselves to the will of the supreme hospice of the universe, here making our final rites to this, our dearly departed brother. For the keeper of records and seal, you will now read the memorial.
New Omega Chapter, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. A resolution in honor of Brother Ali Salahuddin. Brother Ali Salahuddin was initiated into the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated April 9, 1968, Alpha Chapter at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Throughout his years of membership, Brother Ali Salahuddin was a committed member and served Omega for 53 years. Brother Ali Salahuddin embodied the fraternity's cardinal principles of manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. The examples that he set will continue to serve as a standard by which all Omega men should live. Brother Ali Salahuddin's service, involvement, and his willingness to give freely of his time and talents embody the true spirit of Omega. Brother Ali Salahuddin, a 53-year member of the fraternity, has now joined Omega Chapter. His enthusiasm, wise counsel, great voice, and fraternal support will be deeply missed. Brothers, once again, the circle of Omega has been broken, and another one of its pearls has shaken loose to rise to even higher heights, serving as a shining lamp of knowledge and inspiration for those who come after him in search of the light that is Omega. In the life of Brother Ali Salahuddin, who we now memorialize, serve as a model, personify the motto of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Friendship is essential to the soul. Our brother, Ali Salahuddin, a dedicated fraternity brother, will be truly missed by all. May God bless his soul. Brother Ali Salahuddin entered Omega Chapter on Thursday, July 22nd, 21. Humbly submitted for the Mark A. Edwards Classics, for the Byron D. Golson Keepers of Records and Seal.
Brothers, you've heard the record of our departed brother. He has been a shining light in the bright crown of Omega. The radiance of his star will furnish the guiding ray to many who will come after him to seek the light that is Omega. The members of our fraternity are bound inseparably by a chain of friendship and brotherhood that makes the joys of one the joys of all, that makes the sorrow of a brother a common lot. We share our burdens, our toils, our cares of every one of us. We also share our happiness, our pleasures, our hopes and dreams, our very lives. This comradeship, my brothers, extends even to and beyond the grave. Neither height, nor depth, nor walls, however high or however wide, can foil the deep desire of us all to be at peace with those, our dear brothers, in whatever state they may be. Brothers, give ear to our chaplain who will speak.
Brothers, in this solemn hour, our hearts and the minds of those that knew our departed brother are heavy with sorrow. The silent shadow of death has once again visited our mega forest of life and felled one of our sturdy trees. But we do not sorrow as men without hope. The way in which we live influences our attitude towards death. We've been instructed that manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift shall be the rules of life by which we live. He who's lived a manly life is well prepared to face death. To be manly is to live a life of high principle, to have a goal, and to be courageous in the attaining of that goal. Steadfast adherence to so noble a concept, difficult though it may be, must of necessity be of inestimable value in the development of sterling character. To be a man may well mean to be a martyr for a cause, but the end of martyrdom is that one has lived not as a craven coward, but as those glorious men who've gone on to leave behind to mankind a record written in the blood of sacrifice, a record that may be read by many who will come after. If we live as men, it cannot be but that we will die as men. When die, we must. To be his brother's keeper should be the aim of every man. Unselfish living is a rare and precious gem to be sought by all mankind. Not what we have, but what we give is a worthy standard for men who would uplift the race of men. We must reach down and lift up our fellow man so that they may stand as men of pride and character for all the world to see. This is the life of many demands of all for some. Brothers, let us not merely wipe away the tear that falls for Brother Salahuddin, but let us herewith resolve with God's grace that we shall and in so doing we may be assured that the life we now memorialize shall serve as a beacon to guide some other person into that light which is circumscribed by Omega's cardinal principles. Let us pray. Thou, O God, knoweth our down sitting and our uprising, and understandeth our thoughts from afar off. Shield and defend us from all evil thoughts and intentions. Support us under the trials and tribulations we're destined to endure while traveling through this vale of tears. Man that's born of a woman is of a few days and full of trouble. He comes forth like a flower and withers. He flees like a shadow and continues not. Since his days are determined, and the number of his months is 50, and thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass, look away from him and desist, that he may enjoy like a hireling his death. For there be hope for a tree if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and its roots will not cease. But man dies and is laid low. Man breathes his last breath, and where is he? As the water falls from a lake, and the rivers waste away and dries up, so man lies down and rises not again. Till the heavens are no more, he shall not awake or be roused from his sleep. Yet, O Lord, have compassion on the children of thy creation, and minister them comfort in the time of trouble. Save them with an everlasting salvation. O God, supreme bosses of the universe, the creator, sustainer, and the last repose of all mankind, we commend to our eternal keeping the soul of our departed brother, Ali Salahuddin. We know that in thy love and mercy he may find the confidence and rest that all men seek. We commend him to thee, as into the hands of a loving father that cares for his children. Remember him, O God, according to the grace that thou bearest to all thy people, and grant that increasing in knowledge and love of thee, he may go from strength to strength in the life of perfect service in thy eternal kingdom through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Now, may the God of peace, who brought again from the dead our Lord Jesus Christ, the great shepherd of the sheep, through the blood of the everlasting covenant, make us perfect in every good work to do his will, working in us that which is well-pleasing in his sight, through Jesus Christ, to whom be glory forever. Amen.
Brothers, all things are now well and fittingly accomplished. I hereby instruct the keeper of records and seals to strike from the roll of Mu Omega chapter the name of our beloved brother, Ali Salahuddin, and commend to the supreme keeper of records and seal of this fraternity throughout all eternity that he inscribe our dearly departed brother's name on the rolls of Omega chapter, where it shall furnish light and adornment in even greater degree than here on earth.
Oh.
there will be glory. And when we say our last goodbye, we'll love Omega Psi Phi. Omega Psi Phi. Fraternity will always love and honor thee. Omega Psi Phi. Fraternity will always loyal to thee.
As the brothers lead a befitting tribute to Brother Ali Salahuddin, I'm calling up Brother Kasi Rashad and Brother Terrence Jenkins.
The second district of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated Social Justice Committee. Thank you. The district representative, Brother Kelvin L. Kofo, hereby resolute, whereas Brother Ali Salahuddin, being a 53-year member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated Alpha Chapter, Howard University.
Whereas Ali Salahuddin, being a longtime Philadelphia businessman and community activist.
Whereas Ali Salahuddin, co-founder of the Pennsylvania Juneteenth Initiative, which produces the annual Philadelphia Juneteenth Parade and Festival.
Whereas Ali Salahuddin, with his beautiful wife, Helen Salahuddin, co-founded the Dessert Club and the African Genesis Institute, an organization dedicated to teaching African American youth their true history and culture.
Whereas Ali Salahuddin founded Superior Food Company and its subsidiaries, Shabazz Steak and Take, the Munchies, Bilal's Brand Seafood, and the co-founder of the Garden of Bilal restaurant.
Now, therefore, the Social Justice Committee of the 2nd District of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated hereby dedicates its annual Juneteenth Social Justice Scholarship and Award given to a deserving student who champions the ideas and the cause of social justice both on their local campus and community, to be named in his honor. Henceforth to be called the Ali Salahuddin Omega Psi Phi Annual Juneteenth Social Justice Scholarship Award. We dedicate this plaque and the future proceeds of that scholarship award to Mama Ali.
All right. Thank you, brothers. We're on kind of a tight timeline, so we're going to just move right on forward with this. You may hear some of the items repeated, and they're worthwhile to be repeated. Ali graduated from Howard University School of Business in 1970 with a bachelor's degree in accounting. At Howard, he pledged Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated and received his 50-year pin in 2018. And in his senior year at Howard, Ali joined the Nation of Islam. After graduation, he returned to Philadelphia and became the minister of the West Philadelphia Mosque 12C and business manager for the Delaware Valley. He was known as Brother Minister Philip 4X, and during that time, Ali founded Superior Food Company and its subsidiaries, Shabazz Steak and Take, the Munchies, Bilal Brand Seafood. He was also co-founder of the Garden of Bilal restaurant, which I ate at many times, Brother Abu, up there right on Wadsworth Avenue. His stores employ many youth from the mosque and the community, like our own Rahima Abdullah, Ali later joined the believers at Masjid Allah, where he worked diligently to secure funding for the beautiful masjid that you're in right now and the parking lot right across the street. And right now, if State Senator Art Haywood is here, we'd like to call you up front so you can make your presentation as well.
It is a great honor for me to have been invited to this event. Thank you so much, Helen. Only knew Ali Salahuddin. But what I have learned today has been humbling, even for a Morehouse man. But it has been humbling. Thank you so much for sharing it. I do represent this area in the Pennsylvania State Senate. And on behalf of the State Senate, we have a condolence resolution, which I will only read in part because so much of it has been shared already. But I will read some of it in part. And it starts off, whereas the Senate of Pennsylvania mourns the loss of Ali Salahuddin, who passed away on July 22, 2021 at the age of 74. Whereas throughout his life, Mr. Salahuddin strove to bring joy and happiness to all of his many friends and family members. He will be fondly remembered as a caring and giving person, and his memory will live on in the minds of the numerous people whose lives he touched. And now, therefore, resolved that the Senate of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania note with great sadness the passing of Ali Salahuddin, whose life greatly benefited all those who lived and served and worked with him, and extend heartfelt condolences to his wife, son, daughter, stepchildren, 6 grandchildren, and be it further resolved that a copy of this document, sponsored by me, be transmitted to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. So before I go to this next segment right here, I just wanted to say, I have family in California, and my dad was visiting out there in California, and he took ill. So I flew out on July 20th to visit him in the hospital. 2 days later, I got the message of Ali's passing. I stayed with my dad 10 days in the hospital out there, came back on July 30th, 31st, because I took a red eye back to Philadelphia. My dad passed away 4 days later. So we just recently, my wife, my daughter, we're here right now. We just recently said goodbye to my dad and also goodbye to my brother, back-to-back weeks. But I wanted to say this. I remember in California, my wife and I visited Detroit, which is my hometown. And we met with a friend there who said, and we went shopping, we wanted to buy something for an event we were attending. He said, you know what? I have this card. If you pay $10 for this card, you can go to any one of the stores up and down the Avenue of Fashion on Livernois in Detroit. Anybody familiar with that? Avenue of Fashion, Livernois in Detroit. And he said they could give you a discount. The card would pay for itself. So I said, man, that's a great idea. Because I know in Philadelphia, thank you, Mike. I know not only being the commerce director, you're also the facilities manager. Thank you. Appreciate that. So I said, that's a great idea to helped to raise funds here in Philadelphia. So I never forget, we used to have these 8 o'clock in the morning meetings, and I think I Black still has them from what I understand. So I made the presentation because I'll never forget, because 8 o'clock in the morning here in Philadelphia is what time in California? 5 a.m. So I'm up at 4:30 getting ready for this meeting to make this presentation. And Ali, and I don't know if Mike was on, I know Ron Waters was on that call, and several other people, and I told them about it. But that went on to become the I Buy Black movement. In 2017, Ali and Michael Rashid started that I Buy Black movement, an organization whose objectives are to increase revenue for Black-owned businesses, create jobs in the Black community, and encourage, advise, and financially support Black youth who want to go into business for themselves. So right now, I'd like to recognize Joel. Is Joel here? Joel Wilson? Joel is not in the house, but he is now still leading the charge. Now, many of you also may know the name Earl Harvey, who also joined the Ancestors. Earl was very active in that movement as well for I Buy Black. And that continues to this day. If you go right up to the street to our offices, third floor media right up the street, you will see the sign in the door that says, "We accept the I Buy Black card." And we still do, which will give you a discount on any of the services that we offer there. So thank you so much, Mike Rashid, Brother Ali Salahuddin, Brother Earl Harvey, Brother Joel Wilson, who is carrying on that legacy. Also, along with Michael Rashid, Ali co-founded the Pennsylvania Juneteenth Initiative, which is the producer of the Philadelphia Juneteenth Parade and Festival. Over the past 4 years, the parade has grown to be the largest in the nation, drawing over 25,000 attendees and 2,000 participants. And you may have seen the recap of that parade on 6ABC. We also were visited by 6ABC here this afternoon, and you may see a story on the news a little bit later on about what has taken place here today. So again, and that's a group of us, we just did a press conference at City Hall and created and made history there with the raising of the red, black, and green liberation flag. First time ever that was done at City Hall. History was made. So right now, I'd like to call up front, and I know he brought this up here for himself. I mean, wasn't helping me out. Let's welcome the Commerce Director of the City of Philadelphia, Mr. Michael Rashid.
Thank you, Gary. Mama Helen can be my witness. I brought it up because she asked for it, not because I asked for it.
Clarify the record.
Good afternoon, everybody. How about a big round of applause for the Qs, for Omega Psi Phi?
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. I've got to say this, when they did that thing, they were walking away. I know for sure, Ali was here, he would go and get a couple of buckets, he would give one to Helen, and he would give one to Sonny. He said, pass the bucket, please make a donation.
Yeah. Yes, he would.
You got the program, so put a little money in.
Yes, he would.
He was always doing that. He knew, you gotta pay the bill. Yep. So Mama Helen, with your permission, why David, who is a legitimate chief in Africa, in case you didn't know that, legitimate chief, not a wannabe, not a so-called, not a self-opponent, but a real chief in Africa is here with us today. With your permission, the family and everybody who's here, all the dignitaries who are here today. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad who lived 1,400 years ago, is Allah's messenger. God said to us through his prophet Muhammad, and this is recorded in the Muslim holy book, the Holy Quran, he said the following: and we appointed them leaders who guide people by our command. And we revealed to them the doing of good deeds and the observing of prayer and the giving of charity. And they were all worshipers of us alone. That's from chapter 21, verse 73 of the Holy Quran. I met Ali about 8 years ago when we were trying to raise money to buy the building that you sit in today. Unlike a lot of you who have known Ali for 30, 40, 50 years, I never met Ali before 8 years ago. But I knew right away that this man was a leader. He didn't talk a lot, but he listened very carefully. And he didn't have a selfish bone in his body. It was all about helping African people to learn their history and to celebrate their culture. I learned so much from Ali. He used to tell me, Mike, you don't understand the Philadelphia Negroes. But he outlined a strategy for our work. He said that he would be the field Negro and I would be the house Negro. And that was a strategy that worked.
That's right.
It worked. Ali came up with the ideas and he used me to sell them. It was Ali's idea to invite Minister Farrakhan to headline a fundraising banquet for this building. You would not believe the controversy that caused. Those of you who are Muslims, you know about the controversy. Minister Farrakhan coming to a temple like this, It was like we would invite the devil to come raise. I'm serious. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. But Ali counted on that. It was controversy. And he knew that controversy was going to get people to buy tickets and come and see what's going to jump off down there with Minister Farrakhan. He knew that. And guess what? People came out. From all up and down the East Coast, people came to see what was going to happen when Minister Farrakhan came to Nashville Law. We raised over $100,000 because of that. That was Ali's thing. Ali made that happen. The next year, it was Ali's idea to invite Pastor Alan Waller from England Baptist Church to come and be our speaker. Again, very highly controversial. It was not only controversial here, it was controversial at Enon. They were about to run him out of Enon for coming down here and trying to raise money for us. Again, we raised a ton of money. This was all Ali's idea. Ali put it together. I Buy Black was Ali's idea, as you just heard. And we signed up over 5,000 businesses into our database because of Ali's ingenuity. Moving the Juneteenth parade to 52nd Street was Ali's idea. And as Gary said, it became the largest Juneteenth parade in America. I quoted a verse earlier from the Quran, where God said, we appointed them as leaders, and we guided them by our command. And we revealed to them the doing of good deeds. I believe that God inspired Ali. I believe God inspired Ali to create the African Genesis program, to take thousands of young people to Africa to learn their history. Ali didn't have time for foolishness, though. No. I only heard him get excited about one movie in the 8 years that I knew him, and that was Black Panther. Yep. Wakanda Forever. He was excited about Wakanda and what it stood for. Of course, he was excited about the star, Chadwick Boseman, being another Howard Grant, another Howard. But I think the most of all, he was excited about the strongest message in that movie. And that was African people living the dreams of our ancestors, being true to the best of Africa, respecting our women, and making sacrifices for our community. God says in the Holy Quran, once again, we appointed them as leaders and guided them by our command. and reveal to them the doing of good deeds. I believe that was Ali Salahuddin. He was a great example of a leader. He followed the guidance of God, and he performed countless good deeds. We were all blessed to know Ali Salahuddin.
Thank you so much, Mr. Conference Director. You told the story about being the house Negro, the field Negro, and you're right about that. Ali was a field Negro because he often would say to me, "Don't have me at the negotiating table because I have as much diplomacy as Genghis Khan." I know you heard him say that before. So right now we do have another proclamation from the city of Philadelphia. I met with Councilmember Derek Green last night. He was at an event at a place I've never been to up on Scotts Lane off of Ridge Avenue. Anybody in here ever been in that area? I mean, that's like the twisting and turning and winding and where am I? But that's becoming one of the go-to places now here in the city. But it starts with the council, the city of Philadelphia respectfully joined with the family and friends of Ali Salahuddin to celebrate his life and honor his memory on Thursday, July 22nd, 2021. Allah, in his infinite wisdom, took him from our midst. And it goes on again with the whereases, and I'm not going to read everything again because we're on a tight timeline. Therefore, by virtue of this citation, the Council of the City of Philadelphia does hereby celebrate the life and honor the memory of Ali Salahuddin. To those who mourn, we offer the hope that you will find comfort in the peace this wonderful soul has surely found, and in the legacy of goodness he leaves behind. And that's signed Derek S. Green, Council Member at Large, Darrell L. Clark, President of the City Council of Philadelphia. And I'm presenting this to you. So, in 1993, along with wife Helen Salahuddin, Ali founded the Dessert Club and African Genesis Institute, a 27-month educational and cultural program for youth between the ages of 7 and 14, focused on developing an understanding and awareness of the African experience in America. Since 1998, the program, which had chapters in 12 cities, and I tried to name them all, and I may have left a couple of them out, and they have taken over 4,000 youth and adults to Senegal, to Gambia, Ghana, West Africa, and to Egypt. And I want to say during a lot of that period of time, a person who has captured many of those trips and has it on video, Mr. Bob Lott is here as well. Bob, I want to recognize you, brother, because you worked with Ali many, many years. And, you know, sometimes we wouldn't always agree on things, but we got it done. So thank you for being here, Bob. I also want to say and give a shout out, and I don't see him, but radio talk show host as well as attorney Michael Cord is here. Mike is here. Ali was on his program each and every Sunday, and Mama Helen will be there this coming Sunday to express some of her thoughts and feelings as well. Right now, I'd like to call up front the newest generation of those who will carry on the legacy of the African Genesis Institute. She's the better half, maybe the better 70, 80%, I gotta say. I'm sorry, Jabbar. Dr. Anika Osaze.
Thank you so much. Hatafu, everyone. I bring you greetings. I'd like to acknowledge our priests here from the Shrine of Ma'at who have been here to help us celebrate the life of Father Ali Salahuddin. Say African Ma'at, life in balance. And I have to say, Brother Ali tried to live his life in balance in everything that he did. I know we don't have a lot of time, but it's kind of hard when you know someone as long as I have, that has done everything in his blood to make sure that African people can resurrect themselves and know who they are and know what their greatest accomplishments are. There aren't enough hours in the day to be able to talk about what he accomplished. And I know that I've been tasked to do that. I can't go through all of what he's been able to do for us as a people. There are things he's done that you don't even know about. Because he wasn't doing it for recognition. Yeah. He was doing it because it needed to be done, and he wasn't waiting for someone else to do it. If anyone knew Brother Ali, they knew that he was unstoppable. That if he was not just a businessman, he was someone who was a visionary. He saw things before people could even come up with the idea. He already saw it in place. He already saw it happening in his mind. And if you knew him, you know, sometimes he would come to you and ask you for your opinion, but he really wasn't asking for your opinion. He was just telling you what he was about to do. Yeah. And that was his way of letting you know it's about to get done. Yeah. And don't get in his way, because he's not going to allow you to get in his way. The one thing I will give him credit for, though, that he had the common sense to do, was to marry the beautiful queen, Mama Helen. Because he knew, for all the things he had to do, he needed a strong woman by his side. Okay. Beside every powerful man, every powerful Black, every powerful African man, you need to have a powerful African woman by your side, not behind you, by your side, sometimes even in front. And two of them together accomplished a great deal, and she will continue that legacy, and we will help her with this legacy. We're not here just to talk about the things that Brother Ali accomplished. We're here to talk about what we need to do to continue the legacy. Because he's watching. And he's not just here for us to go through his whole list of accolades. He wants to know, what are you going to do in this movement? And how are you going to continue this legacy? And as African people in this room, anyone who had anything to do with the African Genesis Institute, you knew that his training in that program was to help you move forward to figure out what your role in our salvation was going to be. Your role in our upliftment. Your role in teaching our young people who they are and to be proud of who they are and how they look and how they feel, and to make sure that they understood how bright they are and that they brought civilization to this world. They can continue to do wonderful things. And yes, we keep saying 4,000 people. It is now 5,000 people that he has brought to the continent of Africa. There are young people in this room that we started with at the young age of 7, and now many of them have children of their own. And I'm hoping that they're teaching their children all of what they learned in this African Genesis program. Every person in this room has an obligation to make sure that our people continue to rise and that our people continue to learn about who they are. And if you don't know it, you are obligated to figure it out yourself, because you cannot get in the way. Each person in this room has to be unstoppable. Ali did not take the word no. He did not say he can't do it. The word can't never came out of his mind. It was always, how are we going to make it get done? How are we going to accomplish this? And who do I need to work with to make it happen? He was the ultimate networker. He brought so many of us together from across the world, not just across this country, across the world, and connected us because he knew who was capable in the legal field, in the medical field, in the business field, in the science field, in the mathematics field, in the computer field. He knew who could do what, and he brought them together to make things happen. And now that he's not here, that doesn't mean that the job stops. It means that you have to pick up the mantle and continue it. So these are just a few of the accomplishments, and some of them you've already heard, but we're going to say them again. He established a dessert club along with Mama Helen, which produced parties and events for over 20,000 youth from 1993 until 1997. That's only 4 years, 20,000 youth. Think about that. He established the African Genesis Educational Program in 1997 with study groups in Atlanta, Baltimore, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, Harlem, Newark, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Richmond, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Wilmington, Delaware. That's a lot of places. He took 82 students, group leaders, travelers, and staff on the very first trip to Senegal and the Gambia, West Africa in 1998. 132 to Ghana on their second trip to Ghana in 1999, 250 to Egypt in 2000, and continued until 2019, totaling 5,000 travelers. The travel footprints included sites of interest in the United States, including Philadelphia Black History Walking Tour, the Great Blacks and Wax Museum in Baltimore, Egypt on the Potomac in Washington, D.C., Williamsburg, Virginia, and in Harlem. We traced the Underground Railroad from Detroit, Michigan to Windsor, Ontario, Canada, and the Gullah Tour in South Carolina. He was made an honorary citizen of Banjul, the Gambia, by the mayor and city council. Hosted by Caliph, General, and Sheikh Hassan Sis in Dakar and Senegal, respectively. Caliph, thank you. He was made an honorary citizen of Essamon Village, Elmina, Ghana, by paramount chiefs and elders. Received by the Asantehen, the king of the Ashanti Nation in Kumasi, Ghana. He made student cultural ambassadors in the city of Philadelphia. He produced 4 citywide Kwanzaa celebrations and produced 2 Juneteenth celebrations. If any of you attended any of those were powerful events. He was able to pull people from all over the city to be there. He donated a life-size wax figure of Cecil B. Moore to the Great Blacks and Wax Museum in Baltimore, and a life-size wax figure of David P. Richardson to the Pastorus Elementary School on David P. Richardson Way in Philadelphia. He took 100 sojourners to Ghana in 2019 for the Year of Return commemoration. And we just went there and were able to see a plaque that he worked together with Qua David Whitaker to make sure that our legacy will always continue. People always know that we were there and returned to our homeland to see what has been done to us and to make sure that it's never done to us again. Brother Ali broke ground on land in Ghana to establish the Juneteenth Village, which we are still working on, and will continue that legacy. And at this point, 97.2% of African Genesis graduates are college-bound, and African Genesis Institute has raised over $7 million through internal fundraising efforts to produce all of the activities that were listed above. Was one man with a great idea who did not allow somebody to say no. It wasn't hard for him to raise money because he knew the purpose and he knew it was for our young people. And it had to be done. So we have to continue. We have to pick up the mantle and make sure that we continue the legacy of the African Genesis Institute, the Dessert Club, and the Teen Summit 1000 programs. At this time, I would like to introduce our next speaker, who will come up and talk more about our legacy and the path that we are going to continue moving forward in. Nana Kwa Pramana II, also known as Dr. Kwa David Whitaker, Esquire, a career educator and cultural advocate and an African chief, who is the Tufo Hen, the legal advisor for Nana Koto Aduakwa V, the chief of Tonkwa, Elmina, Ghana. He will be here to greet all of you and to bring words of wisdom as the national elder for the African Genesis Institute.
Thank you so much. My ears are hurting, so I'm going to have to deviate from this protocol for a short period of time. I would like to thank Mama Helen, all of the Salahuddin family, all of the guests that have been so powerful in their participation and presentation. And I've been admonished already about the time. So Helen, so right now I'm a little bit perplexed as to whether I'm going to honor that or not. As young people say, I'm just saying. I would like to seriously, I've often characterized the desert efforts and all of these enterprises as Harriet Tubman and her husband, Ali. Mama Helen has given me that feeling. And Mama Harriet, from what I've learned today, I've been impressed because they're part of the big H's. I didn't know that until just today. So Mama Harriet and Mama Helen, I've learned a new dimension of what makes me feel that way. I was a little bit troubled by Mama Helen's allocation of 5 minutes to me when it came to this opportunity. But learning that Omega only had 2 minutes, I'm good to go. I'm good to go now because I have 5 minutes. I don't know how long 2 minutes is. But I want to share with you some important things. This program is truly amazing. And I sat there as it unfolded and said, well, I shouldn't be surprised because whenever I would say something like this to Ali, Ali would respond to me by saying, this is how we roll. So what are you surprised about? This is how we do things. So I realized that this is continuing to be how we roll. I want to share a few things. Sonny, you going to go through the slides or I should do it? I was set up for it, but you were doing such an exceptional job. I said, that's one thing I won't have to do.
All right, I'm right here.
So if I have time, I want to give a few remarks about Ali and then some things that is our responsibility. Much of this has already been alluded to by other people. So Brother Mike has provided a perfect platform for me to segue into something I want to say. So let's go to the next one. Have you?
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Mama Helen asked me to say a few things about Ali, and I found something that I hadn't seen in a while that Bob Lott did that I thought would be apropos. So here it is, about 4 minutes.
All right. Okay, Bob, what I'd like to touch on for a minute, I know you got a lot of other questions, but what I'd like to touch on as an educational psychologist are the trips that I've taken with Ali and Helen Salahuddin, the founders of the Dessert Club. As you know, they take youth, young people, put them through a 2-year training program that's based upon the work of the eminent scholar, Dr. Edward Robinson, Journey of the Songhai People. And their focus is helping these young people to come to understand their rich African inheritance, and history, culture, and ancestry. And then they take them on a trip to Kemet, which we refer to as Egypt in the general population, to see the grandeur and the splendor of their ancestors so that they can get a sense of what used to be. And they can begin to articulate in their own minds what horrific events must have occurred for them to be living the lives that they're living now. From the standpoint of an educational psychologist, this is a critical aspect of their development because as people, we are suffering from an untreated psychological illness that has been passed on as any legacy. If it was real estate, if it was any inheritance, we have all inherited the ill effects of this disruption of our culture, the kidnapping of our people, and it's been passed on from one generation to the next, all the way down to our children in present day America and throughout the diaspora, wherever our people are. So the psychological benefit of what they're doing is not like a trip to Disney World where you get a reward for doing good things, but it's actually a psychological intervention that is designed to arrest a continued perpetuation of a psychological illness that if it's not addressed, these children will of course pass it on to their children. So this trip, this learning experience is critically important to arresting the problem that confronts us, because these young people get to see themselves in a very positive light, because as Dr. Robinson says, what is resurrected is the esteem of their ancestors, so that they can attach themselves to a very positive notion of who they are. So even though this may have gone on for 6 or 7 generations, if at any point it can be stopped in any individual, that means it will be no longer present in their offspring, and it won't be passed on to their children. It won't be passed on to their grandchildren. And so what Helen and Ali are doing through the Dessert Club is more than an educational experience that's based on research, teaching, and history, but it is a psychological intervention and a mental health therapy that our people desperately need in order for us to step on center stage in the 21st century. So there's not many programs that are doing that. There's lots of programs that are engaging young people and adults in activities that are designed to give them a sense of positive feeling about themselves. But there's nothing that I have seen, or certainly haven't experienced, that is really based on sound history and theory, and learning and teaching methodologies that provides the mental health intervention that we have never had. So that's why I'm really particularly excited about what they're doing. I contribute in whatever way I can, and I have seen the evidence of the changes that take place in the young people that they work with and what they go on to become. So this is part of a systematic way of intervening in the lives of our people so that they will be better and they won't be plagued with these problems that have affected all of us, unfortunately, but everything in its time. So I applaud them and I support whatever they're doing, because I know it's based on sound theory and they have solid approaches, and the results are undeniable.
That's my little testimony.
Right?
Mike set this up so perfectly, and so did Dr. Anika Jabari, because Ali has been to us a visionary, and if we have never seen a visionary before, all we have to do is think about what we have experienced in our interactions with Ali. Ali called me while I was in Ghana and asked me if I thought, and whatever Ali ever called me about, if he asked me what I thought about it, I of course said, of course we can do that. Even if I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of, I said, oh sure, we can do that. So he said, you think we can have a meeting in Ghana to represent, to signify, symbolize the 400-year anniversary, or the 400 years prophecy of us coming out of enslavement? I said, of course we can do that. So along with Nana Duakwa, who's the chief of my village, who couldn't be here today because his flight was changed and he's flying tonight.
Wow.
So he will arrive tomorrow evening, so he's missing us by one day, but we'll come back to Philly area to do a meeting with Cheney University, and we will make arrangements to stop and see you guys anyway. So the chief organized a meeting with the gentleman, go back to the slide. The gentleman here is the Deputy Minister of Tourism for Ghana at the time, 2018. We went to meet with him to talk about the possibility of bringing a contingent of people for the 400-year prophecy to symbolize our coming out of enslavement. We made a presentation. We used a short video, promotional video that Bob Lott had produced. We showed it to him in his office. And when we finished with our talk, he looked at me, he said, "I've never heard of anything like this." He said, "I never heard of this 400 years. So he said, write me a letter. And Ali had instructed me to go to the meeting, and here's what I was to do. Explain what we were going to do. Tell them that we want the government of Ghana to arrange for reduced airline fees and to also provide for reduced hotel accommodations and 26 comp rooms and provide us with ground transportation at a reduced rate." So he said, "You think you can do that?" I said, "Of course we can do that." So we meet with him. He's impressed. He's never heard of anything that we said. He said, "We've never heard of anything like this." So he wanted me to write a letter outlining the things we wanted. I wrote, and he would get back to us. I wrote the letter to him, outlining the things we wanted, and never heard from him. The next thing I heard about this prophecy is President Akufo-Addo had declared 2019 as the year of return. At the time I was there was nobody in the government that ever heard about this. So in my mind, it's Ali that's actually provided the impetus for the 2019 year of return. Right. So Ali had the idea of bringing for the year of return, which didn't exist when he was talking about it. He was bringing these 200 people, 100 people. First it was going to start out being 400 people, one person for every year. When it actually got around to being implemented, it was 100 or so. So this was a photo we took at Elmina, outside of Elmina Dungeon. And Ali had the other wild idea. He said, "Do you think we could put something at the dungeon permanently on display on the walls?" And I said, what do you have in mind? He said, "Something that would show that we've been there." He said, "You think we can do that?" I said, "Of course we can do that." But I'd never seen anything put on these walls permanently by anybody. These have been declared historic buildings. You can't just go in and paint, put up your photo of you and your girlfriend on the wall. But I told him, of course we can do that. To show us how connected we are, the chief of my village, who I apologize I can't be here tonight, he sits on the board of national monuments and facilities. So I discussed with him. I said, "Nana, we want to put something on the wall at the dungeons, Cape Coast Dungeon, Elmina Dungeon, that will stay there permanently to represent the first thing ever put on these buildings that I asked for." I said, Ali said it would be a good idea. And the chief said, "You mean Ali that has two definitions for the word business?" I said, "Yes." But Ali told him he has 2 degrees, one in business and one in business. So the chief remembers that Ali has two business degrees. And so whenever I mention Ali, he said, "You mean business or business?" I said, "Either one you want is okay." So the chief and I went to the administrators of the 2 dungeons, told them what Ali told us to tell them we wanted to do, And they said, okay, we can do that. So we took all, as you know, we took all the names of the travelers. Rookie Castleberry printed, carved, etched every one of those. All the ones that, including the ones that everybody wanted changed once they saw the name that was on it, then they want to have a different name on it. So he etched all the new ones that they wanted to. So they're standing there now, they're on the walls. I just saw them, I just came back at the end of June. As you probably saw them there too. So we put them there and they're still there, and we will continue to maintain and freshen up the paint as necessary. So that's done. So Ali, I've done the thing that we knew we could do. We had the groundbreaking outside my house. Some of the people here were there. So we have broken ground for the institute that Ali called me and said he was talking to Dr. Robinson. Of course, Dr. Robinson had already made his transition. So when Ali said he'd been talking to Dr. Robinson, Dr. Robinson told him that he'd always had an idea of an institute, physical institute in Africa somewhere that would train and mold the young people from the diaspora. So he said, you think we can do that? I said, of course, you know what I said. So the rest has been done. We set aside the land, we've done the groundbreaking. People here have been there to see that. And so here's my challenge and here's my testimony and promise. My final thing, I don't think there's another slide. Okay, this is a picture of the architectural description. The building next to on the left of Visionary is the site that people broke ground. That's where the institute is supposed to be. And in terms of rites of passage, one of the things that we teach is that much of the work of the living is completion of the work of those that have gone on. So I've been honored to be considered and established as the elder for the African Genesis, picking up where our esteemed Dr. Ed Robinson left off. Ali has told me his conversations with Dr. Robinson, so I know exactly what we are talking about trying to do. So I've already discussed with Nana Duakwa that somehow Nana Duakwa, I'm going to start construction of this facility. It may not get finished, but I'm going to take on as part of my responsibility to do the unfinished work of the people that we revere. We know what they wanted to do. We know how they wanted it done. And there's no excuse for us not to get it started. So I'm committed to that. Nothing's going to change that. So somehow or another, we're going to get started. And as Ali would say, if we get started, we're going to get the thing done. All we got to do is get started. So that's what we're going to do. And somehow or another, we're going to go from there to the next thing. I think that was the last night. Okay. So thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you, Mama Helen. Everybody else, I love you. I'm going to be, God willing, I'm always going to be able, committed, and dedicated. And this is the only reason I'm getting up in the morning these days. So, Madasi, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame. Nice 5 minutes. Appreciate that. And you know, I gotta say, during the groundbreaking, it was really interesting that, and we do want to respect the time because prayer starts at 4:30 this afternoon. But during the groundbreaking, it was super hot in the back of your house, but in the front, we had that nice ocean breeze blowing on us. And that was great. As you heard, Ali was a brilliant mind, a man of the people. He'll be remembered as an historic figure who helped thousands of young Black children reach their highest potential through access to their history and travel experiences. And Ali would always say, travel makes you smarter. I just told my nephew that, and he flies for free, so he's planning to go everywhere now. So the highest potential to access your history and travel experiences that were transformational. Right now, I'd like to welcome, and you heard me kidding a little bit earlier. We share the same birthday. We call each other twins. Let's welcome to the front with a warm welcome to Ali's wife, known as Mama Helen.
I'm gonna take my mask off, so that means no hugs. So I'm just going with the mask on, okay? Thank you all for coming out this afternoon for this memorial service. It's been wonderful. From the family, we love all of you. I want to acknowledge a couple of other people in the audience. Yasir, can you stand up?
Brother Nasir.
Yasir Rahmatech is here. Yasir is from Chicago. He is a Kemetic yoga scholar, practitioner, teacher, and Ali, we discovered him. I'm going to say a little bit about that in a minute. And Ali was like, we got to get him to teach our children. And we took him a couple of times, and now he has the Kemetic Yoga Institute all over the world. The brother was even in New Zealand and Australia, okay? All over the world. Thank you, Steve, for coming out. Ali's loves. There's an African proverb that says, let your love be like the misty rain, come softly but flooding the river. Ali loved God and all things spiritual. He believed in divine universal order and might. He had deep faith, and his faith made him strong. He venerated the ancestors by acknowledging them, and through his love and through his respect for the elders. Ali loves his family. He loved each and every one of you and wanted nothing but the best for his children, his grandchildren, his nieces, his nephews. And if you had 1 ounce of either Macklemore or Dixon blood, you were his cousin. Period. As my grandson says, period. Ali loved brotherhood. Now, when he wanted something done, he knew who to call. Me, Sonny, Sharia, Mimi, Anika. But when he wanted to contemplate, look at, view, regard, examine, inspect, observe, survey, study, scrutinize, scan, with the whole life, or if he just wanted a good laugh, he talked to the brothers. Michael Rashid, Gary, Bob Lott, Bobby Sims, Evrod, Frisbee, Gibb, Jabo, Ruben, Nanakwa David, Brother Hussein, Michael Cord. I could go on and on with the brothers. Whether it was the brothers from his West Oak Lane neighborhood or high school, whether it was from Howard University, his 9 brothers, brothers from the nation, 12C, from Bashullah, or his brothers in the struggle, he loved and respected each of you. Ali loved scholarship. Now, he was not a scholar, and he will tell you in a minute, I'm not a scholar. You've heard all the behind the scenes, right? but he loved to learn from those who are. He was a proud graduate of Howard University, ain't you? You know. And he believed strongly in HBCUs. He was a devoted mentee, and I said not mentor, but mentee of scholars in their fields, brothers like Tony Browder, Renoko Rashidi, Dr. Ben, Asa Hilliard. But the most important person in his later life was Dr. Edward Robinson. He would come home like, late Alpha, where have you been? Sitting at the feet of Dr. Robinson. We called him Doc. Doc taught him so much. He was a proud mentor of the young scholars he met along the way. That would be Chika Koo. That would be Dr. Anika Asasi. That would be Jabari Asasi. That would be Yasir. He wanted to provide a way to showcase them for all to see and to learn from. Ali loved African people. He was proud of who he was as an African man, and he was full of, as Dr. Robinson would say, race esteem. He loved his big nose, okay? He loved his big lips. He loved his black skin. He loved his nappy hair. He loved who he was. Well, how about that big black bald head? He loved that too. Ali loved Africa. And he loved the African Genesis Institute. He loved our youth. And I would like for those from the African Genesis Institute, specifically the young people who are here today, to please stand and be recognized. African Genesis Institute. You are the gems he dropped among our people to carry on his legacy and teach the world the truth about who we are. You must take ownership of who you are and what your place in history is, and that is his legacy. Ali loved jazz music, R&B music, world music, and he loved to travel the diaspora. Now, you know, when we talk about people, so they love to travel. Well, Ali loved to travel. He loved to travel the diaspora. He loved the motherland from Kemet to West Africa to South Africa. For Ali, travel was an exercise in following the footprints of our people. We traveled to Brazil, not to see Rio, but to see Bahia. We traveled to Cuba, not to see Havana, but to see Santiago. We tracked the Moors through Morocco, Spain, and in Venice, Italy, and we counted the Tecans in Rome and in Paris. We followed the Underground Railroad from Savannah, Detroit, and Windsor, Canada. We crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge. He loved museums and could spend hours in a museum reading every word on every exhibit. And in traveling the diaspora included his favorite place, New Orleans, Louisiana, Nola, Orleans. Ali loved New Orleans. He loved the people, he loved the culture, he loved the music, he loved the food, and he loved the history. We visited there often. The last time was when he received his 50-year pin with the Navy Side. He loved the TV show Trimming. And since we know now that he loved museums, you would not be surprised to know that he decided to visit a small museum in Trimming called the Back Street Cultural Museum. There we met the owner who guided us through exhibits of costumes, Indian clubs, and photos of the real Mardi Gras. That's the one in the ninth wardrobe, not the one down Canal Street. Before leaving, the brother from the museum gave us two addresses. One was for a barbecue that night, and the other one was for a second line parade the next morning. Well, you know, Ali loved Kermit Ruffins. And so we went to this barbecue, and guess who was there? Kermit Ruffins. Just hanging around, playing his trumpet, eating barbecue. Ali was in his world. And the next morning, we showed up to witness Black Men of Labor 20th Cultural Celebration. Lord, these brothers stepped out the door dressed in kente cloth from head to toe. And the crowd went wild, so did we. The music was bumping and it was blasting. The folks were stepping and we were stepping along with them. Oh, what a day that was. So Ali said to me, I love the second line, and you have to make me a promise that if it can be done for him, it should be. On the morning of July 22nd, 2021, I awoke to a gentle wafting through my bedroom window. It was a breeze like none I had felt in a long time. It had been so hot and muggy during the week, I was surprised to feel this cool breeze on my skin, so I jumped up and looked out the window. It was a bright and beautiful, cool morning. My friend Kay and I text good morning every morning. She texts me and I text her back. And I said, it is the most beautiful day. Shortly after that, I received a call from the hospital that Ali had transitioned. I realized through my grief and sorrow that that gentle breeze was his last caress as his spirit started its ascent. So this is for you, my love. All of you have a white napkin in your hand. If you have a white napkin, put it in everybody. Bianca, if you're with me in Kalila, we're going to dirge through the aisle. But when y'all hear the music play, feel free to get up and dance to the best.
You better second love. When I die, you better second love. When the angel, when every day of the week. Parade my soul up and down the street. When I die, oh Lord, you better second line. When I die,
Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for being here for this tribute and the celebration of life for Ali Salahuddin. Continue to listen for all the activities from the African Genesis Institute. We thank you for being here again today. Be safe on your travels as you head home to or wherever your destination may take you right now. God bless you all.
you better second line. When I die, you better second line.
I can check it.
I think it fits in here. Yeah.
You better put my people on my side. Make the pretty girls think I'm still alive when I die. Oh Lord, you better second line. Oh, when I die, you better second line. When I die, you better second line. You better put my trumpet on my side for the big dance session behind this guy.